Good evening, everyone. My name is Kathy Kennedy, and I am the Trust Senior Outreach Manager. And I welcome you to our ongoing series of Zoom programs. I hope you've been doing well and staying safe. And of course, from all of us here at the Trust, we do wish you well, and we're very grateful that you're tuning in tonight. For the past year, we've recreated many of our in-person activities as virtual programs. And so I do hope that you've been enjoying those. Topics that we've covered so far include everything from moderated conversations with local farmers, chefs, producers of specialty items, as well as a look at creating and managing living shoreline at Widow's Hole in Greenport, our preserve. Hearing from those who farm shellfish from the local waters, the importance of native plants in the landscape, local artists' connection to conservation, and more. Tonight's program is special because it's a conversation between our president, John Halsey, and Denise Markut, who retired from the Trust right after the pandemic hit. So this timing really affected our ability to connect with Denise and wish her well. We hope this program will give you a chance to hear her story and share some memories and some laughs, and wish her well in her next chapter. On a housekeeping note, just want to let you know that you are muted during this conversation, but at the end, we'll share questions and comments through the Q&A button. So if you have something you'd like to add, please use the Q&A, and then we'll get to as many of those as we can at the end. So just a little bit about the Trust before we get started. Many of you probably know the Trust was founded in 1983 with a mission to conserve Long Island's working farms, natural lands, and heritage. And with your help, as well as with the support of thousands of individuals, partner organizations, foundations, community groups, and all levels of government, we've really been able to accomplish a lot. We protected over 13,000 acres of land, including thousands of acres of farmland, as well as natural lands like wetlands, shorelines, meadows, and woodlands that provide places to grow food, explore nature, offer habitat for wildlife, and protect water for drinking. All of this and more we've been able to do because of supporters like you. So we really appreciate it. Thank you. So before I turn the program over to John and Denise, a final reminder on the Q&A in the chat. Please use the buttons at the bottom of the screen to pose a question or a comment, and we'll turn to those questions at the end of the program. And with that, I turn it over to John and Denise.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. It's great to be here. And, you know, as Kathy mentioned, it was literally, well, this is what happens. Denise leaves and the whole place shuts down, right? I mean, what's going on? So, you know, it was literally, we were talking about how are we going to celebrate 20 years of Denise's time with the Trust, and then we couldn't do it. So, you know, first of all, I want to thank Denise for her many, many years of you know, work for the Trust, conserving all the things that matter to us, and her work with community gardeners and students in Southold and Greenport. I mean, you know, it's just it's a long list of accomplishments, and I think it's great to have an opportunity. We're still going to do it in person someday, but at least to do something now to celebrate your work with us and to celebrate you. And I just can't tell you how much I appreciate all you have done for the Trust in your 20 years.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you. And I do miss all of you. I have been pretty busy with family stuff, but also I've been on the road for the last year. So, or in my garden. So it's not like I'm sitting around eating bonbons, but it's been a wonderful 20 years. So a lot of growth and a lot of lessons. So what can I say? I mean, there was never a dull moment. So and there still hasn't been, you know, sometimes when you retire, you think, well, what am I going to do with myself? But that's really never going to be my problem, I think. So.
So Denise, I mean, just to get us thinking about it, how did you get to Long Island, first of all? How did that happen?
Okay. Well, I graduated from college from the University of Connecticut. And my first job was at the Suffolk County Farm in Yaphank, New York. And of course, I had a degree in animal science. And then I ended up leaving the farm, and I worked for a research facility after that. But we came back and moved to Cutchogue in about 1983. And I worked for Hargrave Vineyard. And I know Louise is on tonight, and I say hello to you. And it was a wonderful, we had such a good time working together way back when. But that led to other things. So I started having children, so that changed the whole dynamic of my life. And I went to school for agriculture and animal science, so I was really involved in the land and et cetera. But that's how I got to Long Island. That's how I got to Cutchogue. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a lot of stories in between. But
So then how did you get to the trust?
So in the 1990s, I started learning organic agriculture via conferences, meeting up with different farmers on Long Island through NOFA, New York. Scott Chaskey being a big one, big player, and the Halsey boys from the Green Thumb. So I got to know all those folks, and CSA was coming into play big time then. And I just liked the whole philosophy of it. But ultimately, because of the farming, what I realized is I couldn't make enough money with the amount of people I had. And my neighbor, Bruce Isaacs, started harassing me to, get a full-time job. And he said, go to the Peconic Land Trust. Work for the Peconic Land Trust. You'll love them. They're really great. Because he was a volunteer of yours at Downs Farm Preserve with Tim Caulfield and our predecessors. So I was hesitant, but I did need a regular job with benefits and everything. So I did apply. And as you know, the doors just opened wide. And I think I was the second organic farmer that you hired in stewardship in that time. And then the third was Graham Hawks. So the writing was on the wall back then. So I think you must have noticed that, John. So you picked the three of us in stewardship, which was interesting to me. So that's how we got to the trust. That's how I got to the trust anyway. Yeah. And it was, a wonderful place for me to grow and to learn so much more about the land and the people, and use my skills as a kind of community organizer to, you gave me a lot of opportunities to do that, with the volunteers and with the school kids, and we had like an intergenerational farm at Charnews that was kind of fulfilled my desires. So it was wonderful. Yeah. So that's.
So going back to your organic farm, so that was Moonbeam. What was
Moonbeam Organic Gardens?
Yeah.
Because I can't say I was ever a farmer. I was probably more of a gardener. Yeah. I started my inspiration for the gardens was John Jevons, who was out of California, and Alan Chadwick, who also has a wonderful garden, in his memory at Santa Cruz. So they were the founding fathers of this small, really intensifying the farming operations. So you're using all of the land and you're not driving on half of it. So I really liked that idea, because I had a small piece, I had 2 acres of land, and I started creating raised beds. And I think I was the first one out there in the North Fork that might have done that. But organics is very important to me to have healthy food for my children, for my own children. So I was determined to do it that way. And so I went to a lot of conferences. I learned as much as I could. And so then I had all these gardens with lots of food coming in. And my mother-in-law said, why don't you sell this stuff? So then, famous last words. And every farmer knows that. Famous last words, how easy, just sell it, it's so easy. So that's what started the whole thing. Yeah. And I ended up, one of the conferences, meeting up with Elizabeth Henderson and Robin Van En and listening to their CSA talks. It just appealed to me. It was a wonderful philosophy of where the community would go and find a farmer to grow food for them. And you would know your farmer, you would know their farm, you would know how they farm, what their philosophies are, and you're in sync with all of that. So I thought, you know what, I'm a farmer and I'm a gardener and I need a community. So I reached out, and Scott Chasky helped me greatly to mentor me and help me get my CSA off the ground in Cutchogue. And it was the first CSA on the North Fork, I will say that. But we had a wonderful time. And actually, as it turns out, Tim Caulfield was one of my shareholders. Who knew? So, I mean, it's all a small world. And it was a wonderful, I mean, I learned how to, manage people and have events and raise food and just create a community of people that had of like mind. And we had all types, and organics was a little bit new to the area at that point. My neighbor, who we had purchased his mother's house, he would come over, he was about 85 at the time, and he would come over and he'd bring all his farmer friends over. He says, look at her potatoes. She doesn't have any potato bugs on it. She's doing this organic thing. So it was very, inspiring. And he would help me with the machinery and the equipment in the fields, because I rented the land next to me, which is owned actually by the Suffolk County Water Authority. But I rented that for 15 years. And so we used that farmland, which is great. So I don't know if that's answered your question, but I could go on and on.
I mean, that's really, I think that's fascinating. And that experience also, it was a benefit to us, I think, as an organization. All the things that you learned there that you could apply in different contexts, of course. But so I'm curious. So what did you like the most of what you did in your 20 years at the trust? What was the most exciting for you?
The most exciting thing, I like to initiate new programs and new things. I feel like I'm an initiator. So most of the projects that we do are new, right? And we learn new things all the time. So I will say I always felt like every day was interesting. And so that was the most exciting thing, that I was never bored at the Land Trust. And I had so many different projects to work on. Between Downs Farm was my first baby with the town of Southold. We created a committee, we created a nature center, we did trails, we did programs for children. This was all before our events group, and programmatically we even had an events group. So we were kind of like, just doing it. And then of course the Land Trust developed all your other areas of expertise, and so we do it a lot better now. But it was great to work with the town, and we blazed the trails on the 5 trail system that the town of Southold has. We did that through the Land Trust and the volunteers. And of course the volunteers make it all happen, that. So because there's one person can't do it, they inspire us, they work for us, they're our eyes and ears, as we say, hearts and hands. So I like people, so I like working with them, and we had a lot of fun together. I mean, it was work, but it was fun, and we got to know, we made new friends, and we took their ideas and we used them to create programs, or to help us create programs and things. So that probably in a nutshell was it. I mean, just having different projects and being able to try out new things and be funded. When I had my farm, I had to fund everything myself. Not so easy. But with the Land Trust, there was funds behind us to actually expand on things, and if we had a good idea, we could do that with the funding from our supporters. So that was vitally important to our work. So, so Downs Farm was one of my favorites.
Yeah. And there's so many different aspects of that. And that was a tricky transaction to begin with, because it was that property was in the subdivision process and looked like it might go through. There were, was Bill Baxter, who was the owner, and his family, and
Mhm.
they had reached agreement at one point to sell the property or the development rights to the county. And then we had a downturn in the economy. So that whole thing went up in smoke. And so it took some time to make it happen, but it did finally happen. And I think it was a win-win for everyone in that case. So I'm curious. So let's talk about the community garden at Charnews and how
Okay.
that started, and the volunteers you worked with there were
Okay.
quite a group.
Oh, they still are.
Yeah,
They're still hounding me, harassing me, I should say.
they're
But of course,
following you.
we've become good friends. That's why,
Better
so-
watch out, Denise. Some of them are on this program.
I know. Guido's been texting me. The messages are coming up like, "Where are you? What are you doing?" Like, so, Guido, I'm listening. So the community garden, community gardens at Charnews Farm started again. Just like most of our projects, we develop a committee, right? Because we know that the community needs to be involved, and they have wonderful ideas. And so the community gardens was one of those wonderful ideas. And of course, it fed right into my passion. So how could I say no? So one of the committee members came up with that. And I will say, it was kind of late in the season for this. So I was a little hesitant, but we did it anyway. And so we said, well, let's start small. And of course, Charnews, we just bought it the year before in 2008. So this was spring of 2009 when we just got the committee together. We were starting to put a plan together for the farm. And this was the one that, I don't remember whose idea it was, but we said, we'll start with 12 raised beds. Okay. And since I know how to do that, we did that real simple. The volunteers helped. Very exciting. Well, we sold out within, I think, a week, all 12 boxes. We weren't sure if Southfield needed a community garden because there were, everybody has land and they have their gardens in the backyard and such. But what happened is that a lot of people don't have yards, or they don't want, the deer population was so bad that they're like, no, I have to come here and I'll rent a box, and water was provided and compost. We really wanted to help people and teach them how to garden if they didn't know. It was a mixed bag of people, but we ended up, after the first week, we had to make 21 boxes. We sold out, 21 boxes. We said, well, let's stop there for the season, because people were coming from everywhere to join us. So that was really exciting because, it was like going back to my own past. I was able to do what I really love again. And so, so that's how that started. And I will say, every year we added more boxes, and then we added plots, and then we expanded to 61. I think we have 60 plots right now of all sizes. And most of the time they were, I will say, 95% filled every year. And some of the people who started with us are still there. That's their land.
Yeah.
And they're loving it. And they've really improved the soil along the way. So that's really the goal of organic agriculture, is take care of your soil, build your soil, and keep building it. And so, there's a handful of people that have been there for 12, was this the 11th year or the 12th year? This is the 12th year. This would have been the 12th year.
So what were they called? What they call themselves?
Well, the gardeners, I didn't get to the volunteers yet, John. These are the gardeners. They call themselves gardeners.
Okay, all right.
But we had a lot of fun because we would do an orientation every spring. We would have a couple gatherings through the year with potlucks, and I'll tell you, those people really know how to cook, and they know, and they've learned how to garden. I mean, most of them knew how to garden, but there were a few beginners, and everybody helped each other. That's what was so wonderful about it, is that, and of course, my favorite people in the world are the Anne Marie and Kenny Lyons, who helped us with the learning garden that was part of the community garden area. So I'd be remiss if I didn't add them. They were there. They were the grandparents of the farm. They knew what was going on. They shared information. They took people around. They toured people of it. So we had a real sense of community with this group, and it just happened, I guess, by by what we did, the offerings, the events we had, and being part of the trust was big for everybody. So just the right time, maybe it was just the right time. Yeah. So I do miss all of you. If anybody are there, I miss my gardeners. I say mine, but they're not mine, but I miss all of you. And I hope you're doing well. And I'm sure I'll see you when I get back to the North Fork, but you really made my life very full. Yeah. So, okay. So then we had at the farm, Charity's Farm was very full of things and items and programs and projects. So, we also decided to start a volunteer corps. And I will say, I think Tim Caulfield really was the one who's always pushing the volunteer corps, because we had a great one at Downs Farm. And so we decided to have Fridays at the farm. Every Friday, volunteers would come because the farm was kind of a mess. We had a lot of buildings to clean out. We had painting. We had all kinds of gardening to do, mulching, all kinds of things like that. And of course, I think we were starting the Farms of the Future at the same time. We were, right? I think it started the same year. That was the goal of it. So there was a lot happening, a lot of different people coming in and out of this farm. So the volunteers were really needed because, again, one person can't do it all. And we didn't have much staff at the time. I think there was two of us, Dan Heston and I, and maybe a couple interns. Thank you. I couldn't think of the term. Interns in the summertime. But the volunteers were so necessary. So we had a group of people that came literally the first year. And I said, do you guys want to name yourselves? And somebody says, yeah, we'll call ourselves the Honeydews. Now they deny that to this day, but and so they were called the Honeydews and the Dirt Devils. And because of course they were in the dirt a lot because I forced them to be there. Turning over beds, planting bulbs, raking, cleaning, all the things that they didn't do at their own houses, they told me. And these are retired CEOs, and these people all had really great jobs in New York City, and they had come out here and retired, and they wanted to do something. So I put them to work. So that's the one thing, like, if you really want to help, don't come to see me. If you don't want to help, don't see me. If you want to really help, you'll come to see me. So, because, my background is we work. Yeah. We work, we get the job done. Yeah. So, so the Honeydews and the Dirt Devils, every Friday they came for years. Yeah. And because of them, we have the farm we have today, and we have different projects done. I mean, that led into the Adopt a Preserve program, right? And so then we had asked them if they wanted to adopt a preserve, which was really helpful for us. They could check on the preserves when we couldn't do it. And one thing leads to another. So we couldn't have done that without all of you volunteers. You have been a godsend to me and to the Land Trust. And I thank you 1,000 times. Yeah. Now you could come to my house and help me in my garden.
I bet they'll come.
I bet you they would come if you hosted a little potluck there, Denise.
Yeah. Oh, they have. Actually, they have already. They have. So we'll do it again when I get back. Yeah. Because we didn't really get together last year. Everybody was really, everybody was in their corners and doing their introspection and everything. So it has been a strange year for everyone to not see one another. So I hope this year we'll have a chance to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning just the tremendous support that we got from the Hubbards to help us acquire Carney's farm to begin with, and to put up basically a challenge, a match for us.
That's right.
And then the sale of the development rights to the town. I mean, it was a puzzle putting it together, but what a gift their caring for the North Fork and their resources to protect that, help us protect that land and other lands all along Route 48. You know, that they would just pluck up and preserve. So it's a nice opportunity to think about some of those special people who really saw the possibilities and the threats to the North Fork and stood up and just took action.
Absolutely. We couldn't have done it. We just can't, you know, that's one thing that having the supporters that we have for the Land Trust really made the world of difference for all of our projects. And like we always say, we can't do it without you, right? And it's so true. We couldn't, but it takes a lot of effort from staff and a lot of different people and supporters and volunteers to make our organization work as well as it does, you know?
Yeah.
So.
All right. So now I got to look at the other side. So what was the most challenging? I mean, you know, if there was something that was challenging for you from a work perspective, things that or concerning that, you know, that related to, you know, just what you were seeing happening on the North Fork, anything along those lines.
I think for me, I think waiting sometimes for the politics of a project to go through things and getting permits was probably the hardest thing, because it just took a long time. Change takes a long time, and engaging people and having them understand what we're trying to do in a positive light, it takes time and engagement. And I think the waiting was hard for me.
Yeah.
Just because of who I am. But the work itself was not challenging. I mean, well, it was sometimes, because things would crop up in every project, as you know, and people try to stop progress. And so getting through those hoops is always challenging. But one thing I did learn at the Land Trust is keep opening doors. If that one closes, just keep opening another one and open another one. I take that with me. And yeah, that, so I'm trying to think what other challenges.
Did you ever, because I know one of the things that you did for a while was to also monitor easements and go out to properties. And I mean, I think that's going to be the longer term challenge for not only the trust, but for the municipalities that hold all of these easements and development rights on property as the property changes hands. I think many of the people that you worked with who had given us easements were the people who donated them. So we were in sync with them right from the get-go. But one of the things that I see as a big challenge for us in the long run is the monitoring and enforcement of restrictions that were given by somebody else. And people that buy this land and don't maybe fully appreciate or understand the limits that they're subject to. So, so I don't know if you ever, and did you ever, without mentioning names, did you ever encounter a violation in all those years of monitoring?
Actually, I think we had, North Fork was pretty good, I will say, because they were first owners of the easement. Like you said, I know South Fork was very, very different, different clientele, et cetera. But we did have a couple encroachments, and you know, it's funny that you mentioned that. I know we had like 2. I was very proud of that, because I knew all of my easement donors. And I would see them every year. And so because I was there for, I saw the same people every year, they got to know me, I got to know them. I knew their properties pretty well. And I'm trying to think of the one that I was having a problem. I can't even think of it right now, John. That's how I've just cleaned my mind of that negative stuff.
Well, I
So
mean,
the good news is I can't remember the names anyways.
yeah, okay, that's good. Well, I
I
think
know, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that one.
well, that's a good thing for, for people to understand, which I don't think they often do, is that when people do give us a conservation easement, the trust is taking on a perpetual responsibility to, to ensure that the intent of the people who protected the land in the first place is followed through on,
Yes.
and so getting to know those donors is exactly what you did, and that's the best defense is building a relationship with the people who own it, and it just gets to be more of a challenge when those people move on,
Yeah.
and, and so that's an aspect of our work that I don't think people fully understand with conservation easements in particular, that responsibility to monitor every year and to ensure that, if there are violations, they get cured. And the violations aren't necessarily by the people who own that protected land. It could be, as you said, encroachment. People who, who live next door, or, who just maybe take a few liberties.
Yeah, like golf courses or junk trucks. No, I just came to me, my encroachment just came to me. Oh, that's how did I forget that? So yeah, it just came to me.
Yeah.
Neighbors sometimes are
Yeah.
It was the neighbors actually, and in several cases, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, because they're not using this. It's just in woods. I can clear this and
Yeah.
put a little golf course or something, or I could put my stuff on there. And yeah, that happens more often. And again, finding it sometimes, I mean, it's, usually if you do every year, if you monitor every year, you're going to find it. But,
Yeah.
The day after you monitor, they know, and then they sneak in these things sometimes. So it's, what does he say? Oh, Guido's sending me a message. Dear Stanton. Anyway, yeah, so that was, the one encroachment I probably isn't, I don't know if it's even been resolved yet, but
Yeah.
it's out of my hands.
It happens. And
Yeah.
And of course, the other piece of the stewardship, which I think, you did so well at Charnews and other places, is the management of the land that we do own. And and that's the other piece of the puzzle.
It is. And I have to say, that's why our, Adopt a Preserve program really helped us sometimes, because the preserves, we own them. We have some trails on several, but there's a lot that are small pieces here and there. And if you don't go out to them every year, I mean, in a year, some, like 4x4s go in there and they rip up preserves and things like that. And then you have to find out who the culprit is. And then you have to go back and talk to them and get them to understand that they can't do that, et cetera. So, and, most people are law abiding, but there's a few that keep trying. So, you just have to learn how to manage that. And like you said, getting to know your easement holders, and also getting to know your preserves and land, so you recognize when something's amiss. And that's our job. That's what we have to do. We've been hired to do that, and that's what the supporters hire us for too. But it's a big job. And the more and more properties that we do attain, which we have a couple hundred from what I remember, when you only have a couple staff members doing that, we do count on others in the community, to help. So important stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about what's your next step? What do you want to do with all that you've learned? I mean, do you have any? Are you just because okay? I've done enough. I don't think so.
Yeah, no, you know me. No.
So, I mean, I know you've had a busy year,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
and but what are some of the things that are rattling around there in your head that you'd like to do that you haven't been able to do?
Well, as I probably mentioned, I talked to you yesterday, that's why. I purchased an RV last May, thinking I was going to go on my merry way across the country and go to national parks and visit family and do some woofing along the way on different farms. All that plan got really changed dramatically, and as well as family issues that cropped up, so that I had to attend to. So in December of this past year, I actually got in the RV and headed to Texas to see my son. We were going to have Christmas in Texas with my three children and myself. And my son called me midway and said he had COVID. So we all canceled our Christmas plans. And I headed to Florida, where my mother lived, and I had to take care of her place. So I've actually been in Florida for the last 2.5 months, but I've had a lot of time for introspection, and it's been really good for me because, I've been on a fast track for so many years. And honestly, today, I can't tell you, I don't even know how I did what I did, quite frankly, because it was a lot of work. And this trip and the quiet time I've had in Florida has really given me time, pause to think about it. And I'm not done. I'm not done yet. But I need to, I've stepped back a little bit, and I'll be on the road for the next couple months. Then I'll head back to the North Fork for a little bit, and then head back out to Wyoming in the summer for family reunion, and then bring the RV back. So that's kind of the game plan now, but I'm kind of looking around and seeing what's available. And I don't know. I have some things to offer. I just don't know what that looks like yet. And I know that, life kind of presents them to you. So I expect that I'll recognize it when I see it. I hope anyway. But I like to share my skills. And I think that's why I wanted to do some woofing along the way, to see what other farmers are doing, what other gardeners are doing, what they're doing in the rest of the country. And if there's a place for me, I might land there, for a while. But right now I feel pretty free as a bird. I have, of course, my house still there, and I have responsibilities, but I don't know. I'm open to the universe, as they say.
Yeah.
So,
That's very
so just looking for some ideas. Yeah. That's it. I hope you're able to do that too someday, John.
Someday.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, are there any questions from our wonderful participants that they would like to ask Denise? Are you seeing anything?
I'm not seeing any questions because I think everybody's been just listening and enjoying the conversation. A lot of folks are just saying hello through the chat. From everywhere from Kate in Texas to Arizona, Southold, Yaphank. I mean, it's very interesting, Denise. You've obviously spread yourself across the United States, Tucson to East Hampton even. So no questions, but I encourage anyone we have pretty much a big group still that nobody's really jumped off. So if you have a question for Denise, so actually Louisa would like to speak. So let's see if I can do that.
I saw one question from Jean Marie Sanchez.
Yeah.
She's wanting to know what happened with the, what do I do? What does she do about voles in the garden?
Oh.
So Jean Marie, I can tell you this, you have to get some cats. A bunch of cats will take care of those voles. And we had a vole infestation at the farm, gosh, I want to say 3 years ago, probably 3 years ago. Honestly, we didn't know what to do either, but and I had it in my own garden. So they're cyclical, it seems. just, drop off some little kitties at the neighbor's house and they'll grow up and be looking for bowls maybe. I don't know. What else can I tell you? It's not easy. It's not easy. So, she says thanks.
And, I know that Louisa wanted to speak, but I'm not sure how to make that happen.
Does Yvette know how to do that?
I'm not sure. I'm wondering if that's the case.
Yes.
Because I certainly don't.
Okay.
I think there is.
Louisa does say, Denise, that no one is more fun or dynamic than you are. So.
Oh, thanks, Louisa.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can be. Yeah, we had a fun time at the Hargrave Vineyard, didn't we? Louisa is quite a woman who has done so many things, and I am very fond of her. And Louisa, when I was in Florida, I saw Betty Sobolski, who is a dear friend of both of us, and she's doing fine. So I know she would like me to say hello to you.
Louisa said that you taught her how to farm.
Well, we did some horse stuff, right, Louisa? Some horse stuff. I don't know if I did that, but thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that.
So that reminds me of something. Seeing you playing, being on a what is it called?
Polo pony. Polo pony.
Yes, behind the Stewardship Center. Tell us a little bit about that and your connection to horses.
So connections to horses, since I was a child, when I was about 7 years old, or about 7, my father went to a pony farm and bought my sister and I a pony. And then one pony wasn't enough, so we had 2 ponies. Then we had 4 ponies. So I was raised in Connecticut, and I rode our ponies all over the woodlands, fields, everything. So bareback, we never had a saddle. We didn't take lessons. It was quite rough and ready. So I always said I was a cowboy on horseback. And so that's where it started. And that's why I went to animal science. We had an animal club, the neighborhood kids and stuff. So then, of course, I went to UConn and they had a polo team.
Oh, I see.
And of course, I got right involved with the polo team there, and also the equestrian team I was on as well. So it just grew from there. And then, of course, when I joined the Land Trust, and Russ McCall came. He was our neighbor, and he rode polo ponies, and he was he brought them up every summer. It was just a perfect fit for me. So, and of course, the Land Trust hosted a polo game, right, with Russ McCall.
Yeah.
And I was allowed to play with this wonderful team of Argentinian polo players. Can't tell you, that was a wonderful day for me. And Russ, it was just great to be able to get on a polo pony again and play open field, which I hadn't done. And one thing leads to another. So another farmer that we rented some land to, Alberto Bengolia, who rented the Reed Farm for his polo ponies. So I kept playing polo into my 50s, which I was very proud of, but it was fun. It's a fun game. So yeah, that was just a wonderful opportunity, that the Land Trust provided. I will say that. And Russ McCall. So.
Well, of course. And Russ, and his family played such an important role in the protection of Downs Farm.
Absolutely.
And, that deal was one that involved private capital as well as public funding, the sale of development rights to the county. But we couldn't pull that off without Russ, and who lived literally across the street almost, right? Right on Peconic Bay. And just such a great partner, and doing other projects in and around Downs Farm and our Stewardship Center and of course McCall Vineyard. So another great partner with vision.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's how you have to put, every project we do is sort of like a puzzle, and so you gotta find the pieces and put them together, and Russ was very much a key piece of that puzzle.
It still is. Oh my, and the next generation is taking over. His children now, which I'm so happy to know, are now taking over for Russ, and it's time. It's time. So it's a wonderful history that we have with the family.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
were you able to bring Louisa in?
Yeah, I'm in.
Hi, Louisa.
All right.
I just was so thrilled that this was happening, because I felt like, yeah, I mean, we need to pay tribute to you, Denise. And I don't know, it was just so great to have you come to the vineyard and work with me. I think we had the farm for maybe 10 or 11 years. Anne was about 10 years old. And
Yeah.
so I knew how, I was learning how to grow grapes, but you knew every other kind of farming. You knew every aspect of farming. And I don't think you mentioned the black belt that you had either. I think that,
I'm glad I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's not something you share with when you're a single woman, Louisa.
no, but so what was so great is, like you said, I don't know how we did what we did. I think that, we had the same sensibility. It's like, if something needed to be done, it was just going to get done. And it didn't matter what it took, it was just going to get done. And when I heard that you were going to be working for the Land Trust, I was cheering, because I thought that is going to be successful. Now
See that, John?
Yeah, it's true. True. So
Well,
I think,
that's good.
it takes energy and gumption, but also curiosity and the sense of fun and wanting to engage. And this is what you brought to the picture. And I was really annoyed when you retired, because you it's really, why? But it's okay.
Old, I'm old. I got old. I'm tired.
You don't look tired, Denise. You're not convincing us.
Okay, I had a few months off. Okay.
Anyway, I just wanted to because I don't like typing, and I wanted to say more than I could say in a line. So it was just so great to have you do all the things that you did. But really, it was special for me to have you work with me. And the sheep and that horse and everything was all really great.
That was fun. And Louisa, you and Alex were very unique people to work for. I mean, you broke. I was like, wow, this is the best interview. What's the first thing on your mind is what the interview was. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? I was like, that's it? I got the job? I mean, so it was, you're very unique bosses, let's say. And I was really appreciative. And of course, I bought the house right up across the street from you. So it all worked out so well for all of us, I think. And getting to know your children, and they call me auntie now. I'm like very proud of that. So
I couldn't believe that when you planted those gardens with the raised beds. I had never seen anything like that. And it made me feel kind of, inadequate, because I didn't have all garden. I just had a big vineyard, but it was,
but you did all that work. I mean, you were the workhorse. I watched you, Louisa. You again, plaudits to you and kudos to you for what you accomplished there as well. So that was from scratch. That was the pioneering vision that you see that in me, but I see it in you as well.
I mean, that's what was so great. And I think that for, people in general who are getting involved in the Land Trust, they might not have a chance to get the dirt under their nails, or they might be like, but there could be bugs,
Yeah.
But to have a chance to participate at Charnews and all the other activities and Bridge Gardens, and it's just so phenomenal. And like the easements, to my mind, as you said, I'm glad you brought them up, John, because the easements are so important. And all the hedges that are going up now, and all the lack of a sense of community is a real problem when people don't live full time in the place where they visit.
Very true. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your comments, Louise. I really appreciate them. I'll see you on the North Fork.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to mute myself now.
Okay. So, John, we didn't talk about children, all the children that we impact with the Land Trust programs. I just want to touch on that a little bit. with how vitally important it is for, I mean, Kathy puts together all these wonderful programs every year for years, and it involves all ages, all types of people, all groups. And I felt like, you know, what we found, what we did at the farms that we own, the land trust I'm saying, is we brought the diversity of people in with different programs that we do. And that's really vital, you know, so important. And reaching children, you know, the next generations. I mean, you know, my whole heart sings, you know, speaks to having them understand what we understand. And they do at a young age. And I think, you know, having the school programs that we developed at the farm and at Quello Farm and at Widow's Hole with Mrs. Pollock, who was the most wonderful teacher I've met, I think. The engagement of the children in a natural setting, an outdoor education setting, is so important for all children of, you know, all educational, you know, aptitudes. So we shouldn't look at that lightly. And of course, their connection to the earth is really our future and their future. And I think that's what we try to do with our programs, is really give them a sense of, first of all, their the joy that they find out there, and also the responsibility that we're all responsible for the earth. And that's kind of what I was trying to teach when I was there. And our teachers were, all three of us would do that each year with the 4th and 5th graders. And Mrs. Pollock certainly did that on the water at Widow's Hole and with the seining programs, and just speaking about getting kids in touch with it. Because even though they're surrounded by it, some children never get out of the house or get away from their iPads and phones. And, you know, that nature deficit disorder that we're going to see more of. If we can do anything more to eliminate that or give children an opportunity to be outside for outside education, we will be doing a good thing. So.
Yeah, I have to say, Denise, also, I think the programs that you created with the schools, you know, Southold and Greenport, I mean, you're really inspiring, and it's the curiosity factor, the inquisitiveness that is being brought to the forefront when a student comes, whether they're at the beach or at the farm, you know, they're learning how to be curious again, and how to kind of explore something that they might have been afraid of, whether it's the bugs in the soil and ants and, you know, to crabs and things that they're going to find at the beach. I mean, it's really important to everybody, to the next generation. And then as they grow older, you know, to their own children, going on and on, you have to be able to get close to nature and not be afraid that there's opportunity there to learn and to share. So I think you did a great job with that.
I think, yeah, and I think, you know, the curiosity is there, but if the opportunity is not there, some children don't have a chance to, you know, understand it and get comfortable with it. And I know in some of our gardening programs with the kids, some children didn't want to touch the soil. They were afraid. They didn't want to get their hands dirty because they hadn't ever had that opportunity. So like digging potatoes, oh my gosh, everybody liked digging potatoes. It's like digging for gold. And oh my God, everybody loved that. So that was one of our programs. And I will say, it always made me so happy to watch them. I mean, they wouldn't even forget the shovels. They were using their hands and they're just going to town. So, and then walking around the gardens with the kids, that was always one of our things, and picking things out of the gardens, whether it was an herb like lemon balm, which all the kids loved, and having them taste it, and all the parents taste it too as well. And then watching their expressions and saying, well, what does it taste? And asking them, what do you think? What do you think it is? What does it taste like? So that alone, and then because it was organic, they didn't have to worry about it. So it was kind of like dispelling all the fears that children have about nature and stuff. So that, you know, that was fun. That was always fun for me. So true, Jeannie. So anyway, I just wanted to bring up the children because they are so important for us.
Well, I think, you know, as as the trust really continues to build its education programs and its stewardship programs, that's I think a real piece of the goal, very significant. How do we use the preserves that we have and maybe aren't using, programmatically? How can those be again used to enlighten children as to the world around them and all the mysteries and possibilities. I mean, I grew up here in Southampton Village. There was farmland all around me. There was 1,000 acres here in this part. There's only maybe 150 acres left, but there was a little sort of a vernal brook that would go into Wickapog Pond. And that was just something for me as a kid. I was there all the time. We were playing games in there and just exploring and finding things. It just that experience of just playing in the woods is just great. Now, of course, we got ticks to worry about, but
yeah, it's true. But guess what? It's, so, my experience, I was with the Land Trust for 19 years and never got a tick bite, right? So I used to brag about it. I was kind of like, well, no, they don't like me, whatever. And I protect. So the last year I got Lyme's disease at the Land Trust. I was like, damn. I was like, I almost got it. So I was, after that, I was like, wow, that really stinks. I was in the woods all the time with,
well, yeah,
trails and stuff. So I was just lucky. I was one of the lucky ones, but I don't want people to be afraid of the ticks. Just look,
be careful,
recognize it and check yourself and do the things. Dress. What you wear outside really makes a difference, so wear the right clothes if you're going to go out there, but don't give up going to those vernal ponds and finding tadpoles and
absolutely
and all that stuff, because that's so much fun, and that's what kids are supposed to do. That's so much fun. So yeah.
That's right. So I know, Denise, you can see the chat and some of the comments from people that are thanking you for all the work that you've done. Jeannie says, kids need contact with outdoors more than ever, and that can be more true today. But lots of appreciation for all the work that you've done, and people miss you for sure. So when you're coming back to the North Fork, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of get-togethers when we can all gather again, so you can visit and socialize for sure. So I'm just going to check. So we don't have any other specific questions in the Q&A. If anyone has a question for Denise, I'd like to post it. Otherwise, we may wrap up shortly here. So type it into the Q&A button, and we can you can have your question answered live.
Great.
So Denise, so where exactly are you now?
I'm in Anna, Texas, which is outside of Dallas, in my son's new house, and he's just moved in, so we're helping him do some things here. So and in about a week we'll head out to Arizona for a wedding, and New Mexico, which is a place that I'd like to see if I find a place that I can have a winter house there or something, maybe. You know anybody in New Mexico that I might
John probably knows somebody there.
I'm sure you do, John. Hey, John, I have to thank you. I do want to thank you, John, for all those rallies that you took us on and all those extra trips, because they were very, very special. And I hope you continue to do that when everything opens up. So that was the best.
Why don't you talk about that a little bit, just for everyone else who maybe doesn't know what a rally is?
Okay, so every year there's a national rally, Land Trust rally, that John is a 100%er. He's been going. What year did they start, John?
I think it started in '84 was their first one. So I've been to every one of them.
He has been. So John likes to take staff on these extra excursions each year and we get to go every other year, but we go on these extra excursions to other land trusts, to other properties. We hear about other projects. He takes us out to these special restaurants, and it's really great to interact with new land trust people and hear all about their dynamic, land conservation ways. And of course, John shares how we do it, because we're like the grandparents of the land trust, aren't we, John? I say we.
There are older land trusts, but yeah, I mean, I think it's you pay it forward, and I know that as a new organization, we benefited tremendously from guidance and mentors from other land trusts. So we try to do the same thing for new organizations and partner organizations for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the rally is all about educating us and going to workshops that improve our knowledge of different parts of land conservation, like philanthropy, planning, stewardship. Everybody's doing different things in the country, and we as a very well-established land trust, we've actually taught a lot of those classes. Because we have so many different types of projects that John can't say no to. So that I had to put that in, John.
Yep.
So we have learned a lot of things that, say, other land trusts maybe that do bigger parcels don't hear about. So I think we have mentored a lot of other places, but they've always been interesting. The rallies, we travel together, we get to know the staff members and our board members better each time. And of course, one of my favorites was when we went to Denver, Colorado, and we got to go to Trinchera Ranch.
Yeah.
And I went to New Mexico before that, so I got a chance to see Santa Fe and Abiquiu with Georgia O'Keeffe, where she did her work. So, but Denver was a lot of fun, and we just did a lot of talking about conservation in such great ways. So I learned a lot, but each rally is always an adventure.
Yeah.
Always was. So thank you for that. It was a very big gift.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So when you go to New Mexico, you ought to be looking up who are the land trusts.
Right.
Well,
That's a built-in place. You can find people, and
yeah, that's true. That's true.
you should definitely do that.
Okay. Well, if you get a chance, you got any names?
She needs an introduction, John.
See how I'm networking?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I think Peter Talty might be out there. So in New Mexico, I think that's where he is right now. So.
Oh, I think he has a place. You're right.
Yeah.
His wife and he were there at Trinchera. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
So there you go.
Okay. Thank you.
Someone you know.
Come up. Well, thank you all for coming to this program, and I hope to see you on the North Fork when I get back. And I'm sure our paths will cross.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. And I thank you for all the lessons you've taught me over the years and all the funny jokes and everything else you've shared with me, because it really enriched my life.
Yeah. And thank you, Denise, again, for being a part of the trust and making so much possible. And so, we do miss you, and we'll see you when you're back. Hopefully,
Yeah.
get together.
Okay. Yeah. Call me, John.
You guys can do lunch one day.
That's right. We'll do lunch.
Okay. Denise, we can do lunch with Janet one of these days too.
Yes,
that's
we
always
will.
a thing.
Absolutely.
So I miss you as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to thank everyone that's tuning in as well. We had a great group of folks that obviously have a lot of fond memories of you, Denise, and the work you did with them, whatever that was, wherever that was. So it's wonderful that you're all joining with us tonight. And I just want to let you know that if you wanted to share this, we did record tonight's conversation, and it will be on our blog page and the website. So if you go to our website the next day or so, you'll find it there, and you can listen again, or you can share it out to other folks. And while you're there, don't forget to check out the other programs we've recorded and that live on the blog. So everything we've done virtually this past year all lives on the blog, and there's lots of great information, how-to workshops and other conversations like this one that we've offered throughout the year. So with that, I want to say thank you again. I hope you had a wonderful time, and have a good night.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you, Kathy. Thank you for all the work you do, and John too.
You're welcome, Denise.
Adios, amigos.
Adios.
Bye.